Toronto. This is John Kyo, and welcome to episode number 6 of the Future of Food 10 by 10 series, where I interview 10 CEOs for 10 minutes to get their perspectives on what's happening in the food industry and what their company is doing about it. And I'm delighted to have today on episode number 6, Irene Woerner, the CEO and co-founder of emTRUTH. Hello, Irene.
Hi, John. Thank you so much for inviting me to this conversation.
Well, Irene, today I'm going to put you on the spot straight away, and thank you so much for joining us. But I think you're in LA right now, or San Fran, or?
We're in Los Angeles.
You're in Los Angeles, wonderful. So I'm going to put you on the spot straight away. I'm going to ask you in 1 minute if you can do your personal pitch and also the elevator pitch for your company.
Okay, absolutely. Thank you so much. emTRUTH, we have a very simple mission. We build solutions that inspire trust. Blockchain is a foundational technology for us and is part of a technology stack that we use to build solutions that solve real-world problems at scale for enterprises. We started out in aerospace and defense, but the application is useful for lots of different verticals because many of the different industries have the same problem. And we can talk about that. Myself, I'm a computer scientist by training. I spent many years at the Jet Propulsion Laboratory where I was responsible for all the software on a flight program going to Pluto. Additionally, I've been a technology a startup founder. This is my second startup, as well as a technology consultant. So our team has very deep expertise in aerospace and defense, supply chain logistics, technology.
That's amazing, Irene. I'm delighted to have you today. So a deep space exploration engineer, fantastic. So from your perspective, or from that viewpoint, what do you see are the key challenges in the food industry, and how are you approaching those challenges?
Yeah, it's a really good question, John. So a lot of the shared similarities in terms of challenges that we see in a lot of different industries are really come down to several ideas: authenticity, traceability, compliance, and cybersecurity. And we give you an example that is analogous between these two different industries. In A&D, it's important to track a plane that can be millions of parts that have their own history, their own life story that rolls up into a bigger plane. And you need to track it all the way down to raw materials. The same is appropriate in food. So food, is not only the chain of custody in terms of where food has been, but also where does it come from? What is it made of? And all the way down again to the raw materials. Because even in the food industry, you look at a bottle of spaghetti sauce as an example, right? If it says it's an organic spaghetti sauce, where do the tomatoes come from? Where do the other ingredients come from? And how was it put together? And what was that process? So we see a lot of parallels in the various industries and the challenges that are faced by that, and our technology helps with that.
Right, and I saw on your website, you talk a lot about creating the digital twin. Can you explain for viewers, what is a digital twin and why is that important?
Right. So the concept of digital twin started out in aerospace and defense as a traditional digital twin, a simulation of an actual product. And that definition has expanded now to really talk about, the full history and everything that's been done to a particular product, so that you have physical product that is tied to an increasingly digital world where all information is captured, and that digital representation of that product, that includes what's in it, what is it, where has it been, what has been done to it, and all the implications of that at every level of the supply chain, because in a global and complex supply chain, sometimes a lot of that information today is opaque and not visible to ultimately who needs to see it, including the customer. And that's true for the food industry, I believe.
Right, and your solution is blockchain centric, right? So how have you made your solution different from other companies, considering your deep technical background and your experience in aerospace and defense? How can the learnings from that hardcore engineering, if I can call it that, how can they be utilized in current blockchains to get to that next level?
Yes. So blockchain as a fundamental technology is very interesting because of its immutability. It can't be edited, it can't be deleted, so forth. But that is just one layer. That's what we call the commodity layer blockchain, because a lot of companies already offer blockchain as a service, as a fundamental technology. But traditionally, in order to build a scalable and enterprise class system that is supporting mission critical systems, at large, you have to have a full technology stack, things that do other things. So for example, cybersecurity is not only at the blockchain layer, but at every layer. Everything that we do is encrypted at rest, encrypted in transit, and it's addressed at every layer where you design for security. Same thing when you have an architecture like emTRUTH's blockchain, you design for massive scalability. Massive scalability meaning that there's a very complex supply chain from various organizations, geographically distributed, with different points of view. Because what a consumer may want to see in food, for example, might be different from what a food warehouse person may need to see. And it needs to address, that type of integration to provide a real world solution.
Right, and in the areas of authenticity and linking all of the documentation together, do you see the analogy or the similarities between how an aircraft is built and logging all of the details into a file or a record? Can you speak a little bit more about that?
Absolutely. So in today's digital economies and digital world, more and more information is available digitally, but there are still some gaps. As an example, we'll talk about the integration of these solutions. Let's take, for example, sensor information, or raw material information. There's a lot of things that are developing now in terms of ways to capture that information electronically, temperature, heat, and so forth. However, the reality of physically testing every product, we're just not there yet. And so in order to integrate some of those solutions, you bring some of the best practice that come from aerospace and defense into the food industry. Let me give you an example. So we partner with independent test inspection and certification companies so that it provides an independent view of verification and validation that what you say it is, what you say you've done, so that it's a different way of making sure that there's quality assurance for both the product as well as for the delivery. And the same can be applied to the food, the industry, because you're going to need the same. Because it strikes me as we do this because they're mission critical things in the aerospace and defense industry and automotive and so forth. But if something is important as something that we eat and the things that we feed our families, we should be able to take the same care and apply those same technologies, same processes. And we talk about it as a system because in our definition, a system is not just a technology. It is also for a company, the people, the procedures, the process, the services, the hardware, software, as well as the data. And so we create an integrated solution that works in that context because that's what's necessary.
Gotcha. I think that's an interesting analogy. How important do you think interoperability is for blockchain solutions, blockchain to blockchain, and blockchain to legacy, and so on?
Yeah, perfect question. Will blockchain replace all the systems that are in place today? Absolutely not, because the way that systems work today in most companies that I've seen is that they are really addressing a process. They're focused on a particular process. And what we're doing with the blockchain, particularly with the emTRUTH block twin, is we're focusing on the product. So you can take some of that information and integrate that information into the blockchain where appropriate so that you have a product-centric view of the life of this product, as opposed to very process-centric things for manufacturing, things for testing, things for automation. These all come into play for the history and the traceability of a product, and it needs all of that disparate information. So integration with existing systems is extremely important.
In the last 20 seconds, Irene, you're up in front of 50 food startups. What advice would you give them?
I would say that I would focus, as a technologist, we always focus on technology. Instead, we should focus on the problem and focus on the problems that are pain points for our customers and our clients, and recognize that technology is one component that needs to work with people, with hardware, with software, with process, and that technology is an enabler for us to create more trustworthy products and more trustworthy processes.
Fantastic. Listen, that's it, folks. And thank you so much to Irene Woerner, the CEO and co-founder of emTRUTH. And thank you. We'll see you again soon for episode number 7.